what is the minimum amount of training you need to finish an ultramarathon? I get this question all the time, and I get it. You're probably over 40, you're bridging into ultramarathons, you're busy, you have a family to take care of, and you're wondering, can I still get it done? Can I still achieve these major goals I have in my life on a limited time, on a high stress, with a job, kids, significant other? I know, as a coach, I know why you're asking. As an ultra runner, as a father, as a husband, as a dad, all the things, I know. But we don't want to shoot for the minimum, but we're going to talk about what the minimum is, because I want to get you to the starting line safe, healthy, and with the best shot you can to achieve your goals. Let's talk about it right now. So a lot of people think that training for a 100-mile ultramarathon, or any ultramarathon for that matter, means you have to stack up tons of insane amounts of weekly mileage. They just think you got to keep stacking and adding more and more miles every week until race day. That's the common misconception, and it's completely wrong. Success in an ultramarathon doesn't come from endlessly chasing miles. It comes from training in a smart way. But there's a better way to answer the question that I get all of the time. Am I ready to run an ultramarathon? Or what's the absolute least amount I need to run if I can't get a full training cycle in, or you're pressed for time, but you still want to finish? This is where the minimum maximum framework comes in. It was developed by Jason Koop. He is the guy who heads up all of the most important science, I think. He also is the creator of the certification I have for my coaching certification. But instead of mindlessly obsessing over total miles, this approach focuses really on a structured, purposeful training hours type of plan, not stacking up miles. It gives you a clear ballpark for the bottom end of what coaches would say, and what I would say you need to at least reach the finish line in a race. So here's the numbers if you're wondering what is the minimum amount of training you need to do to finish an ultramarathon. So if you're training for a 50K or a 50 miler, the minimum amount is about 6 hours per week for 3 consecutive weeks, starting 6 weeks before the event. And if you're going for a 100K or a full 100-mile race, the minimum is 9 hours per week for 6 consecutive weeks, starting 9 weeks out. That's the floor. I will repeat that. That is the floor. The lowest volume most coaches would consider acceptable and allowing someone to finish those distances. Now, some people get confused. Hear me out. People get confused about what these numbers really mean. They think it means you only need to train for 6 hours a week for 3 weeks, and you're automatically ready for a 50-miler. That's not what that means. These guidelines are the minimum peak volume you need to build up to. Build up to, not the total amount of training required for the training cycle to complete one of these races. The assumption is that you've already been training, building up to be able to run those distances. So you've been training consistently enough that you can actually handle hitting those peak weeks, so that you can handle hitting them. Hear me out. You just don't jump into 6 or 9 hours a week out of nowhere and finish a race. That's not what this is saying. And I see that comment all the time. You build towards that minimum peak, then you hit it. And many people will surpass that. This is the minimum. Why track hours instead of miles? Well, because miles can be misleading. A 10-mile training run on a trail with big elevation is completely different than running a flat 10-miler on the road. An hour of effort is a much more reliable measure of the physiological stress and adaptations your body is actually getting when you're training. This approach builds the exact qualities you need for ultras, which is aerobic fitness, durability, which I talk about all the time, and fat oxidation capacity. And this is without requiring the crazy, unsustainable amounts of time and mileage people think you need to have. Now, let's talk a little bit about the core principles that make this work. First, every single session needs a clear purpose. This is where I see most people fail. Hard days must actually be hard. Easy days must truly be easy. I see a lot of people just doing the same run every day. It will get you. It will get you. Second, protect your long runs at all costs. This is the one non-negotiable for ultra success. You got to get your long runs in. Third, prioritize recovery, rest and recovery, so the adaptations can absorb, so those things can happen, so you can change and become stronger. It doesn't happen during the work, it happens during the rest. The minimum maximum is the floor, not the ceiling, but if you don't recover, you cannot absorb the training and you will be hurting. You won't be ready for the race. You'll be going into a race burnt out. And fourth, get specific. As race day gets closer, start mirroring the terrain, the elevation, the conditions, and the fueling strategy you're going to use on race day. This is key. You want to, as you get closer to the race, dial things in to what the race is going to be like. So let's go ahead and zoom in on that long run for a second because it's that important. The long run is the primary stimulus for building the durability, the aerobic fitness, and the fat oxidation and structural resilience you need to go the distance that you're going to race. If your schedule is busy and you can only protect one session, it's got to be the long run. The long run is the non-negotiable. You have to protect that and get that one in every single week. And what makes a good long run? It has to be purposeful. Again, hard stays hard, easy stays easy. It should start matching the race, similar terrain, elevation, and tactical demands and efforts. And this is the best time to practice your race day fueling and hydration and strategy. As a coach, this is what I tell my clients. You should be practicing that stuff. It should not be the first time you're doing it in a race. That's how you turn training into race day readiness. You want to be confident in what you're doing. So stop thinking you need to run more miles than everybody else. Focus on the right amount of hours of training. Hitting this minimum peak does not guarantee success. I mean, perfect training doesn't guarantee success. Ultras are hard. They're meant to be hard. It simply gives you a solid data point so that you can make a smart decision about whether or not you're going to be ready, depending on whatever the reason is you're asking this question. You want to be able to go into the race ready. Always show up as ready, as well trained as you possibly can, not just the bare minimum. Again, this is not about showing up to a race, the bare minimum. That's not what we're saying here. Protect your long run, train with a purpose, train smart, not just more. And if you're interested in my master classes, I have a whole playlist over here of hours and hours of training prep, gear, mindset stuff, math training, all of it. Go ahead and click here, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.